back to Bajan Hot Sauce videos and the Return to Barbados series. I started these videos to document my repatriation to Barbados. So far we've made a number of them. The last one is about prepared foods. In the last video we talked about prepared foods, but I did mention in that video that the thing that kept me grounded as a Bajan while I was away was the food. The foods we prepare, whether it was the cuckoo or the pickled cucumber or the pickled cow tongue or something like that. But another aspect of this is the ground provisions. Wherever I lived, I would try to find some of the ground provisions and cook to share those with my family. So that was another aspect of the food. So today we want to talk about ground provisions and the significance of ground provisions. It is difficult for me to talk about ground provisions and not think about how we got here. And what I mean by that is, when we talk about ground provisions, we talk about the foods that the slaves ate, the food that was cultivated, and at some point a bunch of it was sent like to South Carolina, Charleston, and those are the places to feed the slaves, because after all, they just couldn't eat sugarcane and survive. So we cannot separate ground provisions and slavery. I'm not necessarily going to focus on slavery, but I would like to talk a little bit about how that food is grown, how it is probably harvested, and maybe some of the dishes that you might have seen with those ground provisions. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to share some of those foods with you, what they look like, how they were grown, how some of them were harvested. And so if you care to join me, we will take a look now at the ground provisions and its significance in the history of Barbados. So let's go. Many of these ground provisions are products such as cassava, yucca root, eddowes, taro root, potatoes. We had the black rock, heavy red potato with a white interior. We had the Stuarts, a lot like the yams in these, you see. And there was this thing called a yam. It's a big hairy skin root. Was either yellow or white on the insides. And of course the white potatoes, which we call the English or the Irish potatoes. And all of these crops were planted manually and harvested manually. And of course these provisions were prepared just steamed, sometimes in soup, with various leftover animal parts like pig feet, snouts, tails, intestines, chicken feet, etc., or cooked and mashed or just roasted and served with alongside other meals. Planting and harvesting sugarcane was grown in work. This is Moses of the Collins that was used to cut rows and rows of sugarcane, of course. All this was planted with forks and harvested, and the women would head the sugarcane up the hills and put them on donkey carts or mule carts to take them on to the factories for processing. In these next few clips here, you will see an individual's harvesting cassava. This cassava was already planted in the rows and by the holes, and then of course this is how they get them out of the ground. And so you'll see this process here. I'll let you watch this for a second. You know, history is messy, and each of us see history through different lenses. Whether we're seeing it from the plantation side, or from the watchtowers, the signal towers, or from the chattel house, history is messy. However, we cannot escape the relationship between ground provisions and slavery. History is recorded and etched in time, and no amount of water can erase the effects of the Middle Passage, because the remnants and symbols remain all over Barbados. We cannot escape the reality of the food and our culture. But the good news is that around August 28, 1834, there was emancipation. This emancipation ended 200 years of forced labor for an estimated 500,000 Africans. Emancipation was a transitional point in the lives of the Africans. Today you can buy ground provisions from Bridgetown vendors or from little shops or roadside vendors throughout the villages. And you can also see many homes from high estates to chattel houses growing their own ground provisions and varieties of fruits and vegetables. We have come a long way from forcing the slaves to plant and harvest ground provisions for our food to seeing entrepreneurs trying to make a living selling those same ground provisions. Thanks for watching Bajan Hot Sauce videos returning to Barbados. I would like to invite you, if you like the videos, to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course share the videos. Thanks again and see you in the next video.